Welcome to The Revolution, where our mission is to make our dollars revolve in our community. Today, we're discussing an organization that's been fighting for economic empowerment for the Black community for a very long time. The Nation of Islam has been a notable and at times notorious advocate for self-determination and cooperative economics, and has long pushed for the Black community to become a self-sufficient, self-sustaining entity. As the 22nd anniversary of the Million Man March approaches, Minister Louis Farrakhan continues to expound the potential of the Black community. Today, we're talking with Brother Arzo X of Muhammad Study Group Tuscaloosa to discuss how the Nation of Islam is continuing its efforts to build a strong, independent Black nation. Welcome to The Revolution, Brother Arzo. Would you mind just telling the people who you are and tell us about your role in the Nation of Islam?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, sister, thank you for having me on the program. My name is Brother Arzo X. I am the coordinator here for the Nation of Islam in Tuscaloosa, Muhammad Study Group of Tuscaloosa. And I also want to just compliment you and thank you and Brother Santes for doing this program, because it's very much needed in our community, and it was a need. Y'all feel the need, and I tell you, I think it's a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much, and we are definitely glad that the community is supporting it. So just had a few questions to ask you about the Nation of Islam. I know there is a lot of misinformation floating around out there, so a lot of people are confused. So would you mind just telling us what is the Nation of Islam and what are you all about?
The Nation of Islam is a group of, it's really not a religion, so to speak. It's a way of life. The best thing I can tell you about the Nation of Islam, our mission is to go get our people and re-educate our people and bring them into the knowledge of themselves, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge of the enemy. The best way I could give you what the Nation of Islam is about is reading from our newspaper. And this is the weekly newspaper that we produce on a national and international level. But this has been on the back of our newspaper ever since that was Muhammad Speaks newspaper. And that was back in the inception of the Nation of Islam. But on the back of every paper, and this is probably the best way to describe it, because, like you say, there is a lot of misinformation, a lot of propaganda about the Nation of Islam. But this is in the back of each one of our papers, what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. And I just want to read these four statements here on what the Muslims want. Mm-hmm. First of all, number one, we want freedom, a full and complete freedom. Number two, it says we want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed, class, or color. Number three, we want equality of opportunity. We want equal membership in society with the best in civilized society. And number four, we want our people in America whose parents or grandparents were descendants from slaves to be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of their own, either on this continent or elsewhere. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to provide such land, and that the area must be fertile and minerally rich. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to maintain and supply our needs in this separate territory for the next 20 to 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs. There are other things of what we want, but that kind of sums up, if you will, what the Muslims want, what we are about.
Okay, and those are very, very noble purposes that you all are about, and I can definitely get on board with that. Number four specifically reminds me a lot about what Marcus Garvey taught. So I know he was not a Muslim or a member of the Nation of Islam, right. But has he been a big influencer in the Nation of Islam?
I'm pretty sure, the nation under Elijah Muhammad, he really had a lot of great things to say about the Honorable Marcus Garvey. It's the same, like you say, ideology, if you will. Booker T. Washington, we had our event, the anniversary of the Million Man March down in Tuskegee. And the reason the minister chose Tuskegee is because all the principles that Booker T. Washington had to establish that institution, because it was the same self-reliance and do for self that Booker T. Washington had.
Okay. So you just mentioned the Million Man March. I know that mass rallies like this are basically all that a lot of people know about the Nation of Islam. So it doesn't even seem like it's been 22 years since that march happened, or even 2 years since Justice for Else happened. So what kind of progress do you think that we've made as a people since we've had those mass rallies?
I think we've made a lot of progress. This media, you're going to tell us the progress? No. And that's why I complimented you and your husband on the wonderful job that y'all doing. Because we have to tell our own story. Just from the Million Man March, there was thousands of people who went out and adopted children. You're not going to hear that. There was thousands of men who went out and joined organizations, just like the minister had asked, NAACP, SCLC, the Nation of Islam, whatever organization. And then there was a lot of people who went and started organization, community organization, to uplift our community. So a lot of things have happened, but you will not hear major media report on those things because that's not their job. They are, I can say it like this, if I'm the one who's controlling things and you want to, I got you in a slave position and I'm the master, I'm not going to bring you up to my position. Exactly. You know, that's just not going to happen.
I definitely agree with that. And like you said, you won't necessarily see all the progress that is being made. And I can attest that all of us who are conscious, whatever you want to call us,
right.
Most of us haven't been that way all of our lives. We have to go through some things. We have to be exposed to things like Justice for Else in order to grow in our consciousness. And after I didn't get a chance to go to the march, but I've watched the videos on YouTube and everything. So I hope that a lot of other people are inspired to go out and get that type of knowledge for themselves, because, without seeking the knowledge, you'll still always be sleepwalking, basically.
Right. So. And Justice for Else, like you say, it don't seem like it's been 2 years ago. That was a very powerful march. You know, the march in 95, the Million Man March, that's the biggest thing ever happened on the planet, period. The biggest gathering of men. And men who the public had portrayed as being wild beasts. But there was not one incident. When nearly 2 million men showed up on that mall that day, it was the most peaceful incident ever. And we even no litter to pick up afterwards. But the Justice or Else March in 2015 involved the youth. See, a lot of people who in 95, they were just being born. They don't even remember the march of 95. So the minister wanted to go back and get the youth and give them the vision of where we at now and what must be done. That was a powerful event that was mostly dealing with the same thing y'all are dealing with. The economics, the revolution of our dollar in our community. The minister instructed us to do business with the people in the community that look like you, that have your best interests. As a result, that Christmas, we had boycotted Christmas the year previous. But then the next year, following the 2015 Christmas, that it was a lot more successful. And I'm saying that to say this, the NAACP also called for a boycott of Christmas that year. So it was a lot of good results from that. A lot of major stores had to shut down a lot of stores, but they're not going to say it because of the boycott.
Exactly.
You know.
And what I plan on doing closer to Christmas time is I want to have on some black-owned businesses who do sell certain merchandise and things that you can buy for Christmas, so we can give people alternatives. Because I know a lot of people, when you say boycott Christmas, like, what are we going to do?
Right.
Our kids have to have stuff, so they think that they have to spend their money with other people, but we have so many people selling good quality products in our own communities who we need to be supporting.
Yes, ma'am.
So I understand that Minister Louis Farrakhan has a speech coming up, October 16th? 15th, I'm sorry, Separation or Death. And I understand that it's basically a follow-up of Justice or Else. So just tell us where we can catch that broadcast and what we should expect.
Yes, ma'am. The broadcast itself is going to take place in Newark, New Jersey. The minister is going to the East Coast with that message, but we here in Tuscaloosa are going to bring that broadcast live via webcast to the Belt Activity Center. The doors open at 1 o'clock on the 15th, and we probably be there at about 5 o'clock. That's the slot we have reserved there. But it's the Belt Activity Center, October 15th at 1 o'clock, and I think it's going to be an awesome event. The title of the title and the subject matter that the minister is dealing with is self-explanatory. Separation or death. You know, that's the same. When we look at it, if you look at what's going on in the country today, with the deal with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. He kneeled for the national anthem because our people were being slaughtered and nothing was happening. We were not getting any justice. So, but look how they took it and just swayed it, trying to make it look like, well, he's not patriotic.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
We've been in this country over 462 years under a slave master that will not give us justice. So it's the same thing as it was with Moses and Pharaoh. Moses did not integrate with Pharaoh's people. He said, let my people go. It's time to separate. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing as a bad marriage a marriage that went bad. It come a time when you can't receive justice. You must separate or die. You know, well, we right there in history right now. We are at the Red Sea, if you will. And the people who don't want to separate from Pharaoh, well, they will die with Pharaoh.
Some powerful imagery right there. And yeah, I've never really thought about it in that context before, but you are definitely right. And hopefully, after seeing this and listening to the minister, hopefully many more of us will come to that realization and figure out that we need to make some major changes. So
I definitely hope so.
Really good conversation so far. We are going to stop for a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back with some more.
Okay, thank you.
And we're back with Brother Arzo X from Muhammad Study Group, Tuscaloosa. So we were just talking about the upcoming speech that Minister Farrakhan has coming up on October 15th, Separation or Death. So when we think about the word separation, a lot of black people just clam up and they just don't want any part of it. Right. And I understand that because we've been fighting against separation for so long, because we know that separation doesn't necessarily mean equal.
Right.
However, people fail to realize that it's been times that when we have separated and built our own communities, those were the times that we thrived the most. So how do you think that we should go about getting better at teaching our history and teaching about the affluent black communities that we have had, like Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so that our people won't feel like they always have to go to somebody else in order to build wealth?
Yes, ma'am. Good question. And I just want to bear witness to what you said in the first part of the statement. Our people do clam up because they think about, we got to get on some boat and we going back to Africa or whatever, But if you look at it, we are already separated. We are separated now not by our choice, but by a condition that the system has put us in. You don't see too many white people living on the west side of the city. True. So we are already separated. But what we're really talking about is separating in our thinking, just like you said, using our dollars in our communities, like any other civilized group of people do. If you go to any major city, you're going to see a Chinatown, it's a Korean town, it's a Greek town. And when you go in those parts of that city, guess who run everything in that part? That's exactly right. If it's a Chinatown, the Chinamans run everything in there, the Chinese. If it's a Korean town, the same. But where is our town?
Exactly.
The only difference, we are separated, but we don't control what goes on in our community. The minister put it like this: we are colonized. And a colonized just means you are living in a community, but you don't control anything. It's controlled by outside interests. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what we are now. We are separated, but we are not independent thinking people in using our dollars to benefit our community. What we really got to do is separate in mind first. And that's why, again, I want to compliment you on this program, because that's the first step. The revolution of the dollar is so powerful, and we don't understand that. So the propaganda has been put out there that when you have to separate, like you were saying, our people clam up. They feel like we can't even survive without someone else handing us out something. But like you said, before we was integrated, we had hotels, motels, thriving restaurants, because we had to. We had gas stations. The only gas station I know that's black owned is right across the street. Mm-hmm. And before we was integrated, we had everything because we was forced to do business with ourselves. Exactly. Because we couldn't go to other business establishments. But when we got so-called integrated, it took us back probably 50 years, because we were so happy that we thought we had won the battle. And it really was a hypocritical trick. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that's also outlined in the back of the paper, that integration was a trick. And that is proven to be that, because right now we don't own anything. We don't have this thriving cities. It was over 60 cities started after when we first came out of slavery. So what happened? So, we can do everything we need to do if we have the will to do it, and if we change our thinking. That's the main thing.
I definitely agree with that, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the NFL. I know this has been one of the biggest issues in the news lately, and when the United States president got on TV and called these people peaceful protesters, called them a name that I won't even repeat.
Right.
A lot of the black players who had been sitting on the sidelines of the protest, they finally started to wake up a little bit and try to join in. But one of our enlightened rappers, David Banner, he tweeted about trying to make your own league. If all these black players, y'all have all these multi-million-dollar contracts, y'all have everything you need to build your own league. So what's keeping you from it? And the first thing I saw once I read David Banner's comments were a bunch of us, so a bunch of black folks on there saying, oh, well, it's not ever going to happen.
Right.
We can't do this. We can't do that.
Right.
But we forget that we had our own black sports leagues before at times when they wouldn't allow us in their league.
Right.
So what do you think is going to take for us to change our mentality and stop just taking the crumbs that are thrown to us and actually want to build something for ourselves?
Well, what it's going to take is happening right now. A lot of us are not going to just go out and do for self on a word. But we have the right president right now that's going to make us go for self and going to make us unite and deal with each other. You know, I've heard the same thing when we be out in the field. It would never happen. Black folks will never come together. Never is a long time. But, you know, we have a president right now, just like you said, the language that he used the other day for president, to be talking about some of the, probably the most patriotic people in this country, just because it's really the same mindset that I own you.
Exactly.
See, the NFL is the new form of slavery, really. And they have that mindset that I own you. You belongs to me, so you do what I tell you to do. I dare you kneel during the national anthem. It had nothing to do with disrespecting the national anthem. But look where they took it. So it's going to take this president, and also it's going to take God giving us a whipping. Because the type storms we've been having here lately have never happened. You're not going to see the news saying these are acts of God. It's the same thing that Jesus prophesied. We living in it. But we are so blind to it till we can't even see it. He said there was going to be wars and rumors of wars. And our president is, I mean,
he's a warmonger.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's talking to leaders of countries like they some little children. It's a total disrespect. And the war drums they are really sounding right now. So everything that Jesus foretold and prophesied, we're living in that day. The hurricanes now are getting one right after another. We never had this type weather. But, you know, the people want to act like, well, this is normal. No, it's not normal. But it's going to take all that for us to come to our senses and realize it's time for us to separate. Because separation is just a natural part of life. When a woman gets pregnant, she carries a child for 9 months. If the child is not delivered, both of them could die. So you gotta have separation to further the life of both of them. When the child gets so big, it's gotta get out that womb. Or, like I say, the mother and the child gonna die. So that's where we at in this country right now. We've grown to the part where, just like you said, and I don't know if you was aware of what Ice Cube did. Ice Cube now have a basketball league where he's getting retired NBA stars. And he had formed the league.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
the minister, when he came to Chicago, Ice Cube invited him out to come here, see what he thought. And the minister went, and he was very appreciative of what brother's doing. So the mindset, we are now, like I said, we've outgrown the womb. It's time for us to separate. I don't know if you listened to the last album Brother Jay-Z did, 444.
I've heard a lot about it. I haven't listened to it though.
Okay. Give it a listen, and you will see it's time for us to be born. We got to come out of this womb, or, like I say, both of us would end up in death.
I definitely agree with all of that, and hopefully our people will take heed to those words. So I know Minister Farrakhan is going to give us some words of wisdom on next week about what we should do as a nation to help our Black community, but as you being a leader of the Black community in Tuscaloosa, are there any pearls of wisdom that you would like to give us to strengthen our local community?
Oh, yes, ma'am, definitely. And there's some of the things that I've been trying to accomplish since I've been the coordinator here in the city of the Nation of Islam. I want to see all the Black groups come together and unite and do something substantial for the community. The NAACP, the SCLC, Seeds of Life. They are all good organizations, but they are doing their thing over here. The Nation of Islam, we doing our little thing over here. And we are not making a big enough difference for the community. But if we come together in unity and sit down at the table and let's discuss what can we do, forget about the differences, let's come together on what the main thing that we can agree on. I use the term in math, the common denominator, because we are all fragmented people. But in mathematics, you cannot add fractions until you get the least common denominator, then you can add them.
True.
So that's the same way it is in this city. We got to get to the least common denominator. The least common denominator is we all Black. And the police are killing our people. They're not asking them what denomination you are. They're just killing them. So we ought to be able to agree on that. And we all are sinking. And we need to come together in this city to provide a future for our children.
I definitely agree with that. And I'm going to end it on that note. It is a challenge to all of the Black leaders in Tuscaloosa, and I actually had the exact same idea not very long ago. I interviewed Reverend Tyshawn Gardner, who was over the SELC. He is actually my second interview, and I am in talks with the leader of the NAACP, Jerry Carter, and hopefully he'll be on the show soon as well. So I had the exact same idea that you did, that we all need to come together as a community and do something big for our people. So thank you for bringing that up on the show today. We'll definitely revisit that very soon. So I really do appreciate you coming out and being on the show today. So before you go, just tell us one more time where and when we can catch Minister Farrakhan's speech, and tell us also how we can reach out to you if we are interested in getting more information about the Nation of Islam.
Okay, yes, ma'am. The election, Minister Farrakhan is going to be doing Separation or Death. That's going to be October 15th. It's going to be held live in Newark, New Jersey, but we're going to webcast it here in Tuscaloosa at the Belt Activity Center. That's out in the Bow Park area. If someone's not familiar with the Belt Activity Center, I don't have that address, but it's in the Bows Park. I believe most people in Tuscaloosa know where that's located. As far as it's the city here, where our mosque, our study group, we are located 2678 21st Street, Tuscaloosa. Feel free, you can reach us by phone, 205-345-7100. Feel free to attend any of our events, our Sunday meetings at 10 o'clock. We will be in study on Wednesday nights at 7:30 and at 8 o'clock. On Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, 7:30 on Friday night. We'll be in the study circle, and the public is welcome to those events.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Brother Arzo, for being on the show, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you for having me.
A revolution is defined as a forcible overthrow of a government or social order in favor of a new system. It can also be defined as a single orbit of one object around another, or about an axis or center. The Black community needs a financial revolution. Our current social order just isn't working for us. Studies show that when money comes into an Asian household, it circulates within the Asian community an average of 28 days before leaving that community. For Jewish households, it's around 19 days. For Black households, it's a depressing 6 hours. And we wonder why so many of our communities are impoverished. It's up to us to overthrow this social order of mental and economic enslavement and create a new system of unity and cooperative economics. Let's support each other and make our dollars revolve in our community. Black people invented civilization. Let that sink in. For centuries, that history has been stripped from us, and we've been told that we're worthless, we've never contributed anything, and we can't survive on our own. History proves that couldn't be further from the truth. I hope this episode of The Revolution inspires you to study your history, to see what type of wealth and dominion we once had, and I pray it gives you hope to see what a mighty people we can become again. Let's support each other and make our dollars revolve in our community. Hotep family.